Good evening and welcome to our regular meeting of council at 8 p.m. this June 17th, moved by Deputy Mayor Lang, seconded by Councillor Bougie. Be it resolved that the June 17th, 2024 council meeting of the Township of South Glengarry now be opened at 8 p.m. All those in favor? Carried. Are there any changes to the agenda?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we have had a request to pull item 10A and B from the consent agenda.
Okay. And you'd like to? Okay. I believe there's one on asset management planning. Yeah. Okay, so then item K, I think they're a duplication on that one. Okay, that's good. So then be it resolved that the Council of the Township of South Glengarry approve the agenda as amended, and that's moved by Councillor Jaworski and seconded by Councillor McDonnell. All those in favor? Carried. Yes, and we should do O Canada. We'll rise for the singing of the national anthem. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, I kind of skipped ahead there with the approval of the agenda. Sorry for that one. So we'll get the approval of the minutes. Were there any changes or amendments made to the minutes? Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor Lang, seconded by Councillor McDonnell. Be it resolved that the minutes of the following meetings be adopted as circulated. Previous meeting minutes, June 3rd, 2024. All those in favor? Carried. We will get into presentations and delegations. I believe the first one is 6A, funding for generator at Glencairn Lodge. Marianne Danaher. And is Marianne here or somebody speaking on her behalf? Okay, perfect. If you could come up to the podium. Now Stuart will speak, okay. The mic is already on. Just speak into it so that people at home can hear you.
I'll be close to it. Is that okay? Good evening, Mayor and Councillors. We the board members present are representing Lancaster and District Nonprofit Housing Incorporated, which manages Glencairn Lodge Seniors Apartments, consisting of 26 apartment units. We thank you for your time. Who are we? We opened in 1989, and we are a corporation without share capital and have corporate bylaws. We have a volunteer board of directors, and we report to the City of Cornwall, our service manager. We are part of the social housing portfolio in Ontario. Residents must be able to live independently. We have 26 units, 18 are geared to income. 8 are market. Our market rent is always lower than the private market. We have 21 units of one bedroom with one unit as handicapped. There are 5 units which are 2-bedroom. We are asking for your financial support in order to install a standby generator at the Seniors Lodge, as the present electrical supplier is unable to cover the demand in the area. Power failures at the lodge run from 4 hours to 4 days, plus 1 failure per month. The unit would be used for the heat and light in the hallways, laundry, office, common room, kitchen, bathroom, and mechanical room. The mechanical room would still supply hot water, making it unnecessary to disconnect and reconnect water lines in case of freezing, causing a very expensive endeavor. It would also help to keep the batteries at full charge in the fire alarm system and holding fire doors open ready in case of fire. In conclusion, installation of a generator at Glencairn Lodge would not only be a major cost saving, but provide safety and comfort for the residents. We thank you for your attention. If there are any questions, either I will try to answer them, other 2 members of the board will fill in for me, or we'll find the answer for you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I forgot to mention before that we don't typically take a decision with committees. We will, or delegations, we'll come back and ask staff to return with a report should council choose. Were there any questions or comments from around the table? Deputy Mayor Lang?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. What are you looking for? Like, are
You
you?
going to ask me a question?
Yeah.
Okay. How much?
Yes. I mean, I don't know what you're short a little bit for a generator. I don't know if it's $500 or if it's
We have,
25,000.
We have a price with tax is 27 something. 25 would cover the cost of the unit. 25,000.
And do you guys have anything set aside for it, or are you looking for funding for the total price?
We're looking for as much as possible. We do have, it's a Retired Teachers Federation, have a grant, and they have filed an application for us. I believe that's around 4 or 5,000.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay?
Councillor Bougie?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you for the presentation, and I can sympathize with the power outages, especially for our most vulnerable over the last year or so. It's been very difficult, so I can sympathize with you there. Cornwall Housing, have you reached out to them at all in terms of a request for something like this?
Yes.
And what was the answer? Were they?
Who are the owners of the building? The board.
So I suppose the answer there is that they said no, is the short answer. Just to, am I right with that? I'm not trying to be.
What's that?
So you had requested funding from Cornwall Social Housing, and they said no because you are the owners of that building, and they're not.
They said who is the owner of the building?
Yes. So no in this case. I believe Marianne might have a comment. If you would like to come up to the podium, though, and just speak into the microphone, please.
Board reports to the City of Cornwall. We have audited financial statements done every year, and we report to them. Our mortgage was paid off this year, so we're mortgage free, which is great. Last year when we had the ice storm, it was very, very difficult for the seniors, and we were lucky it wasn't that cold. Anyway, the City of Cornwall, which is our service manager, gives us the transfer payments from the province, correct? So they have what they call coaches pending, which we are eligible for, and that's around $6,000 this year, which we would apply to the costs. The teachers, retirement fund is going to give us 4 or 5. The total cost is going to be around 30, because we have to get the gas hooked up and everything else. I guess you all know that anyway. But what we're asking for is some sort of financial support to offset the rest of the costs. That's all. And yeah,
No, thank you for the perspective, and
Thank you.
Councillor McDonnell?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you to all three of you for showing up. And yeah, I think that was kind of our kind of question was, is there other funding that's out there? You know, we like to help everybody, but as best we can. But if we can not be the only one at the table bringing the checkbook, it's always appreciative. So it's nice to see that you've gone out and you've got 2 other funding streams already out there. So hopefully we can help you work on some more, and then we can see where we go from there. So appreciate it for now.
All right, and just a little history on, we did have a fairly comprehensive conversation at budget time, just to give some perspective. And I believe we said no to the Legion, and the Legion then fundraised for themselves. We've also said no to the Charlan, like this rec center. So I guess we'll come back with a recommendation probably from Ms. Harbers, and we will vote on it at some time in probably one of the next 2 meetings, just so you can keep your eyes on us, keep us accountable that way. And if there's no further questions of council. Oh, Councillor Jaworski?
Thank you, through you, Mayor McDonald, and thank you, yes, to all of you for coming on this very important topic. Just one thing that was mentioned about your mortgage being paid off, and I'll be honest, I'm ignorant to how your financials work, but is this a situation where if that means, like, the situation is changing a bit, that if it was, maybe loan's not the right word, but if there's a way that the township could help finance the generator, if it can't give the money outright, is that something that would be possible, or is that not?
If you just, when we have our conversations, somebody just has to come to the mic so that the public can hear. If you don't mind, Mr. Sangster. And thank you.
My question is, can it be more creative? Is there a way, maybe loan is not the right word, but if there's a way that the township can help finance the generator and it could be paid off over a few years, is that a possibility, or is that not possible the way you're organized financially?
I would suggest that that's probably a valuable suggestion. It's always easier to pay a little bit off every year than all at once, so we'll certainly take that into consideration when you make your decision. Thank you.
Okay, I see Councillor McDowell, or nope. Okay, great. Then we'll have staff will come back, or administration will come back with a report for us to consider this. And we thank you very much for coming to the table and taking the time to delegate to us, and appreciate that. Thank you. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you for your time, and good luck with your delivery.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So then we will move on to presentation delegation second item 6B, Charlan Skating Club National Award. I believe Mrs. Slinger is here to present.
I have something written if that's okay.
Please proceed.
So thank you for allowing me to speak tonight on behalf of the Charlan Skating Club. I'm delighted to share news that our club has been awarded Skate Canada's National Club of the Year award. Out of over 1,100 clubs across Canada, this recognition is a tremendous honor for us. It reflects our commitment to exceeding program delivery standards, year-over-year membership growth, our embodiment of Skate Canada's values, collaboration, and our dedication to creating a safe, inclusive environment. We are particularly proud of our efforts in equity, diversity, and inclusion, ensuring that everyone, regardless of age or ability, can enjoy skating with us. We are proud that despite of our size, we can offer programming the same quality as clubs with thousands of members. I recently had the privilege of accepting this award at Skate Canada's Ice Summit in Vancouver. During my discussions with the selection committee, I had one burning question. How did a small club like ours, with fewer than 150 members, in a town not widely known, come out on top? The answer was unanimous: community involvement. Our participation in events like the Williamstown Fair has set us apart. While many clubs confine their activities to arenas, we engage actively with our community. Every summer, our skaters serve thousands of scoops of ice cream at the fair, a decades-long tradition that not only promotes our club, but also garners vital community support. Our corporate sponsorship program sees local businesses receive recognition and advertising in exchange for their support of our skaters. Our club also seeks to give back to the community by subsidizing skating lessons for those who find the costs to be a barrier to participation, and through our bursary program. Graduating students who have been members of our club are invited to apply to our bursary program to be granted funds for their post-secondary education. This award is a testament to the incredible support we receive from our community. Having previously worked at one of Canada's largest skating clubs, I can attest to the unique strength of our small community here in South Glengarry. Our club thrives thanks to the unwavering support of our members, family, local businesses, and the township. Our club deeply values the open communication with the Parks, Recreation, and Facilities staff, and our interactions with the arena staff are consistently positive, something I can say is very different from working in Ottawa. We genuinely feel strengthened by the support of our members, their families, local businesses, and the township itself. I've not had the chance to speak to all of you at Council together before, and I wish to extend my deepest gratitude to the Council on behalf of all club members for allowing us to share our achievement. Your support and wise decision-making, such as last year's sponsorship agreement with Minor Hockey, the skating club, and the Junior B hockey team, has directly enhanced our programming, enriching our experiences for our members. Grants like those we received for our 50th anniversary ice show have allowed us to celebrate in ways that were once beyond our reach. As a nonprofit organization, every contribution we receive is reinvested into our programs, benefiting our members and the broader community. Your ongoing support has made a lasting impact, and we are immensely grateful for your continued partnership. Thank you for letting me share our exciting news about winning Skate Canada's National Club of the Year. It really shows how our tight-knit community here in South Glengarry pulls together. For 50 years, we've had the privilege of teaching generations of families how to skate, and I can see around here I've taught children, grandchildren, nieces, and nephews. We create a love for the sport that transcends age and ability. As we look forward to starting our new season in September, we're committed to offering exceptional programming and continuing to teach everyone in South Glengarry how to skate. Thank you again for your ongoing support and helping us reach this amazing milestone.
All right, well, I'm famous for making people clap around the table, so congratulations. In addition to that, one of the things that I find a big highlight for your skating club is, well, this year you brought Elizabeth Fanley, and last year Kurt Browning, which are kind of big names. I mean,
Yes.
Councillor McDonnell might be just a touch too young for Kurt Browning, but like he was a big thing. In our household, we watched figure skating, and so to see him in person, I remember when he came through, everybody stared at him, and I must say the 30 to 40-year-old women may have dropped jaw at some point seeing their hero, and he just looked in and said, "Hello, everybody who's staring at me." So like a great person, but we don't often have people. Well, I mean, it's nice to have like Olympic quality athletes come into our facilities.
We were very lucky that they came, and both Elizabeth and Kurt just couldn't get enough of our community, and they didn't exactly see it in our best time. I mean, February and March is not really like the best time to come anywhere in Ontario, but we're really lucky to have them come here, and we hope to have more people come and visit our club and learn more about our area.
Well, it works all around. So thank you very much. And we do have a little certificate for you. So if I can get council, I think there's a picture of figure skating somewhere around here. Perhaps we can get a picture presenting it to Mrs. Slinger. If we can take just a moment away from our desks. All right, Councillor Jaworski, you'd like to make a comment?
I would. Thank you. Through you, Mayor McDonald. I just, congratulations to the Charlotte Skating Club for this amazing honor. And it really is a testament to the strength of the club, how it's constantly growing. And I did want to highlight what Ms. Slinger was saying about how the club celebrates inclusion, and like they have an adaptive skating. You know, they have a sledge, I guess is the right term, and you know they are teaching the foundations of skating to so many of the kids that even go into the minor hockey program, and they also have a very successful adult skating program where you'll see people learning to skate and you'll see people coming back to skating. So it really is a club that I've seen definitely does celebrate that inclusion and that celebrating the joy of skating. So it's definitely, from this seat, definitely the award is well deserved, and it's very nice that the club is getting that national recognition for it.
We truly are a vanguard of the nation. That's how that goes. So we'll move then into action requests. 7A, Ms. Harbers. Moved by Councillor Bougie, seconded by Deputy Mayor Lang. Be it resolved that Staff Report 2024-17 be received and that the Council of the Township of South Glengarry approve the Williamstown Fair's request from the St. Lawrence Valley Agricultural Society for the 2024 Williamstown Fair. Ms. Harbers?
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Mayor. This report is just for the request from the fair for their upcoming fair this year. So for the use of the peanut line and then waiving the landfill tipping fees, and then also the request of the equipment that we typically provide every year. So this is a standard request that we usually receive from them. So our department and infrastructure works out our resources to ensure that we can support them in what they need. In addition to this report, I did receive further information today just regarding how they deal with like waste diversion throughout the fair. So they do have a water bottle refilling station this year, so that should hopefully eliminate the use of plastic water bottles. They recycle. They will dispose of their paint and hazardous waste at the waste depot, and the cans are collected daily for recycling, and then the old straw that they use throughout the fair is used as fertilizer. So that's just a little added note to the report. So subject to any questions, that's what we are requesting.
All right, are there any questions or comments from council? Councillor Jaworski?
Thank you, through you, Mayor McDonald. Thank you, Ms. Harbers, for the report, and thank you for that additional information, because when I read the request and the 2 30 cubic yard garbage containers and the waiving the tipping fee for that, I'll be honest, I don't know how that compares to like a typical event in terms of garbage generation, but it is a large amount, and I know that we're constantly talking about how we can slow the filling of the landfill. So I'm glad to hear that there are some additional steps that the fair is taking to keep that at a minimum. But I guess I'd like to suggest, for any organization that we, do these kind of in lieu services or waive fees, that that it sort of becomes part of the conversation on what are they doing to reduce how much is going to go to the landfill, and that it be, maybe even formalized as part of those conversations, because I know that keeping, slowing down the fill of our landfill is very important. And so I don't know I had a question for Ms. McDonald. I don't know if she is something that she can answer on the spot, but I was wondering, like, in terms of like that amount of waste, how that would compare, if she has any sense of how that would compare to sort of like a residential weekly garbage intake at the landfill.
Okay. I guess that might be, if it's a simple thing, maybe an email follow-up to council just to give a comparison. Are there any further questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor of the resolution is read, or the motion is read? Carried. We will now move into action item number 2, which is the Charlottenburg Rec Center sponsorship agreement. Ms. Harbers again, moved by Councillor Jaworski, seconded by Councillor Bougie. Be it resolved that Staff Report 2024-69 be received and that the Council of the Township of South Glengarry direct administration to renew the advertisement agreements as per the 2023-24 ice season with the applicable rates. Ms. Harbers?
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Mayor. This report, as you mentioned, is about the sponsorship agreements, the advertisement agreements here on the arena ice and the boards. So the report outlines what each organization receives for ads, which is Junior B, Charlotte Minor Hockey, and the Charlotte Skating Club. So these agreements were established in 2022, and we've reviewed them and renewed them every year since then. And you may recall at the at the May 21st council meeting, council had communicated that they would like to revisit the allocation once we know what Junior B would be using for ice, since they have had some changes. So I have outlined just a draft schedule in the report. Even though the EOJHL hasn't released their final schedule yet, we have communicated with Junior B to figure out what they are planning to use for the upcoming season, which would be their regular Tuesday practices. They plan to keep those on, which is a 2-hour time slot, and then also their Saturday games, which is a 3-hour time slot. They would be using half of them for games, which would be 11 based on the games that were booked last year, as well as a couple of Saturdays for various events or alumni games, which would be a total of 14 Saturdays booked. So that gives you kind of an idea as to what they will be using in this upcoming 2024-2025 season. So one thing I do want to mention, number 5 in the report lists that administration has communicated with the 3 organizations regarding the current agreements, and currently there were no recommendations or requests received regarding the allotment. As of 6 o'clock this evening and 7 o'clock this evening, we have received a few comments regarding the advertisements. After speaking with Stephanie, thankfully she's here tonight, she had, Stephanie Slinger from the Skating Club, she had mentioned that, they are happy with what's being proposed for this year, but if possible in future years, if they would like to, if the opportunity did arise for them to increase their ad space, they'd be interested in doing that. However, Minor Hockey has now communicated that they would be interested in more ads. Now, you'll see in my report, obviously, I've mentioned that we would like to get moving on these agreements so that everyone understands what they will be obtaining for ads, as the deadlines are quickly approaching for them to get the ads in place. I will mention the in-ice ads, we like to receive them in far enough in advance because they do come in like a rolled up tube, so it's important that we lay them all flat so that they're ready for us to put in the ice. That's why the timeline there. And then we also like to put the board ads in before the ice is in. It just is easier to take the boards off to put the ads in. So again, as part of the report, we are recommending that we stay with the current allocation of ads. However, as mentioned in the report, if council would like to adjust the allotments, we will require some direction on how to move forward with those different allotments. So,
Thank you. I'll go to Councillor McDonnell and Councillor Jaworski.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the report, Ms. Harbers. I know. I don't disagree. I think we should revisit it. Let's see. But I do think maybe for this year we see how all the dust settles on this, and what in actuality is used. It's fine that the Rebels say they're going to do 4 extra Sundays or Saturdays, but there's no firm plan for those. There's nothing set in stone. I think we go through this year. All the organizations I would assume, have already been working on their budgets for what they're going to need as far as maybe having to review costs. And I think if we just roll with this year, but we should have this conversation started we start having this conversation around November, December for the next year, because while we all remember the last time we went through this, it went on for a couple of months, I would say, as far as back and forth, and we've got 3 council meetings realistically between now and ice going in. So I don't know that the lead time is there to do it properly and everybody be heard and be able to have an agreement for a 4 or 5 year agreement that everybody's happy with adjustments here and there. But I think it's maybe a little short on the lead time, but should be maybe reviewed once we see how this all shakes out with Junior B.
Thank you, Councillor Jaworski.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor McDonald. I had a question. Do we have any idea how the Sports Palace is going to handle the advertising for the brigade at this point? Because I think that's another item
like, I'm not saying we have to match it exactly, but also like I wouldn't want us to be like completely like in another, completely different. If there's somehow, and I think also like we need to sort of give some indication that at some point there will be a realignment, sort of to what Councillor McDonnell is saying. But that would be my first question: is do we know what's happening with the brigade at the Sports Palace? And I mean, from what I've seen in terms of the requests for from the other user groups, it seems like it's fairly minor. But I don't know how much back and forth it would be if it's adding another two, it would be taking away like 4 wall boards or arena boards, I guess arena boards from the junior Bs and giving 2 to like minor hockey to the skating club. I don't know if that's a major undertaking or not, but that's sort of what I'm thinking about.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Mayor. Just to follow up on Councillor McDonnell's comment, for sure, we definitely would be reviewing this. Now that we have received these requests, the night the report is coming in, we can certainly review the allocation, early next year so that we do have that time to go back and forth. Obviously, in January, February this year, there weren't those types of requests, so now we can certainly look at that. Councillor Jaworski, regarding your comment for the Glengarry Sports Palace, when we started trying to kind of standardize this advertisement agreement, because prior to this, Junior B had received all the ads, I had done, or administration had completed some research on other arenas, and pretty much most of SDNG, the townships receive all of the sponsorship money, and they do all the administration for the ads, and they receive all the funds for it. As of right now, that's continuing in North Glengarry. I have since spoken to Junior B, and they were under the understanding that they would not be receiving any funds for advertisements. So that's across the board, including other organizations. It's just one organization receiving the funds, and that's the township. So my apologies. There was another question, or okay.
The matter of switching, like taking, let's say 4 from the junior Bs and giving 2 to arena boards, 2 to Charlotte minor hockey, 2 to state and club. Is that a major undertaking, or is that like not worth the trouble?
If you have an answer for that, then we'll go to Councillor McDonnell.
Just, I guess, a comment to, like, you can take 4 away from one organization and give them to 2 others. That's not hard, but it's not equitable at the end of the day if you're going to start doing that. It needs to be a proper conversation. You can't sit down and just, well, we're taking from you to give to you. It's got to be a conversation, all parties involved. I don't think you have the leadway to do that at this point.
Deputy Mayor Lang?
I might disagree with that a little bit. It's not equitable now. Now, Junior B has had these, and they did the legwork at the beginning to go out and get these ads, and they're quite energetic, I'll say, in getting out there and being involved and getting these things signed up, and they have been, got somebody really good that works at that. But right now they're getting up here 26 compared to 3 for the other 2 organizations. So it is definitely not equitable. I'm not saying it has to be, but I think if we're going to be doing this in partnership with North Glengarry, I think we maybe are going to have a serious conversation about how this works for next year. I mean, it doesn't seem to be, if they're keeping their money. Now, I don't know if North Glengarry, when they take in their money, if they're giving a discount to the other organizations because they're receiving extra money for advertising and they're able to cut costs. I'm not sure, but maybe we need to look at it. So I don't know the answer for tonight. It's we are getting to the end. I would encourage minor hockey and figure skating to be a little more aggressive and get after these things. If you would like to see some changes, to work on it and so forth a little sooner. So I guess for now I would say leave it the same for this year, but we definitely should be looking at it, and I'd like the parties to come to the table earlier and really be aggressive. If you're looking for more, let us know.
I feel like that's a nudge over here, but Councillor McDonnell?
through you, Mr. Mayor, I don't disagree with you. I don't think it's equitable as it is now, but we've slowly merged this into a three-party as opposed to one. I think if you sit down in a year and you take the time to get there, they might lose more than four, but I'm just saying you're going to give the ample time to actually have this conversation properly as opposed to coming down heavy-fisted, and it just won't work. I don't think it'll go well with the other organizations.
Okay, I think we have enough to take the vote, though. All those in favor of the motion as read? Carried. Okay, I believe a presentation will be made for this particular one, and it is Proposed Property Standards Bylaw. Mr. Mario and Mrs. Haley. Moved by Councillor McDonnell, seconded by Deputy Mayor Lang. Be it resolved that Staff Report 2024-72 be received and that Bylaw 2024-39, being a bylaw to prescribe standards for the maintenance and occupancy of property within the Township of South Glengarry, be read a first, second time in open council the 17th of June, 2024. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to take the opportunity to introduce to Council our Manager of Municipal Bylaw. And Pat's been with us. This is Pat Mario. He's been with us since October 2023. So this is his first time attending a formal council meeting. And he spent some extensive hours this winter looking at our bylaw and rewriting our bylaw. Our bylaw is currently dated 2013, and as you know, we always strive to have the most up-to-date bylaws as possible, but also to make sure that the bylaws make sense and that they work for our community. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Mario to proceed with the presentation. I apologize you didn't get it in advance, but we can review what's being proposed this evening and certainly answer any of your questions. Thank you.
All right, good evening, Council. Which button? Oh. Okay, so what is property standards? Property standards sets out the minimum standards for building and property maintenance within the township. The standards described in these bylaws are intended to outline reasonable maintenance and upkeep of yards, buildings, and properties. So a little bit of differences from 2013 to the new current proposed bylaw is that we're trying to modernize the bylaw to 2024. We have more defined terms within the bylaw. It's more in-depth for interior and exteriors of properties. And we have a more focus on standards of yards. And also we've changed some things in the proposed bylaw to match more provincial legislation. So you can see here on the list on the left here, this is what our current bylaw looks like. So when it comes to some of the bigger changes that we've added from 2013 to the new proposed bylaw, is that in 2013, sewage systems only spoke in respect of discharge of drainage and the land in the vicinity of sewage systems. In the proposed bylaw, we're adding the maintenance and repair of septic systems, including the holding tanks and the leaching beds. As we've been noticing that we've been getting more calls regarding potential failing septic systems. So this would give us an added tool to look at those calls. 2013, swimming pools only speak about the discharge of water. We're adding the maintenance and repair of swimming pools, as we've also seen that there are some pools that are not in operation anymore and they are in disrepair and deteriorating. So this is just another added tool. The current bylaw, we have no wording on excessive mold inside of all buildings. So we're adding a section on excessive mold. We have no wording on air quality. It's important to add that section because if we have an inspection that deals with excessive mold, that we want to make sure that even though the mold is removed, that the air quality is safe for the occupant living in that residence. And we've changed from our minimum heat capability is 21 degrees in our current bylaw. So we're going to change that to 20 degrees Celsius to match more or less the Residential Tenancies Act and the Maintenance Standards Act of Ontario. So these are our fee schedule within the bylaw from 2013 to the new proposed. Some minor changes here. From our current bylaw, we have registering and discharging an order on title is $150 plus legal fees. We are increasing that to $250 plus legal fees. As of right now, we have no title search fees, so that'll be added at a $40 cost plus legal fees. Certificate of compliance is getting increased to $50. We also have added an officer attending a site of cleanup. We're adding that to be $75 per hour. And our last one we're changing is that we currently have a cost of work plus admin fee of 30%. We're changing it to a 30% to a maximum of 1,000 because if there is a lot of work to be completed on a property, that those fees could get out of hand. So we're going to try to maximize it at $1,000. So you can see here, this is a history of our complaints. So the first category is 2020, moving on to last year in 2023. So the blue is our current property standard complaints that the township receives on an annual basis. So in 2020, we received 16 property standard complaints out of a total of 150 complaints that came in. 2021, we've seen 19 property standard complaints with a total of 149 complaints. 2022, we've seen 20 property standard complaints with a total of 201 complaints total. And then in 2023, a significant increase to 51 property standard complaints to a total of 226. So we're currently seeing an increase of property standard complaints coming into the township. So, and this is just a list of what the other townships and the city of Cornwall, when they've implemented their property standards bylaw. So our current proposed bylaw would be for 2024, North Glengarry 2008, South Stormont 2004, North Stormont 2000, South Dundas 2022, North Dundas 2012, and the city of Cornwall did theirs last year in 2023.
So I'm going to take over this portion of the presentation now. Council may recall a few meetings ago there was a request on your agenda to consider regulating Class 1 sewage systems, which are also known as outhouses, privies, composting toilets, or chemical toilets. Specifically, the wording outhouses were used as there was examples provided where sometimes there's outhouses that might be placed more specifically on rural properties. And the request from the resident was, is that something that we can regulate, and could we either stop them or control the location of them? I just want to clarify a couple of things. When you're building a new home, the Ministry of Labor will require an outhouse to be located on the property. And that's something we don't regulate. That's something that's between the contractor or the builder and making sure that their staff have adequate facilities during the construction. They would arrange for the outhouse to arrive on site, remain during the construction, and then have it removed once the house is to be occupied. And that's not something we're asking to regulate because that's something that's going to continue. Again, that's required by the Ministry of Labor. So if council wanted to regulate outhouses, and outhouses that I think we're requesting are the ones that are homemade. So small wooden structures that could be placed on properties that are used because generally washrooms are not available. Maybe even some cases there could be some country properties where they might have an outhouse in the back 40 by a pond or somewhere where they do some outdoor entertainment or something. And that's what we'd be looking at. If council, I just got to check my notes here. If council wanted to regulate outhouses, there's a couple options that we could consider. We could include it in our zoning bylaw. However, if we place it in our zoning bylaw, then anything in the zoning bylaw under the Ontario Planning Act has the right to have a variance application. Or you could place it in the property standards bylaw, which is why we're talking about it tonight. And if you were to include it in the property standards bylaw, you could put provisions in, like perhaps it can't be in the front yard, or it can't be visible from the road, or maybe put requirements in that it can only be located in the rear yard. It must meet setbacks so that it's not on people's property lines or too close to existing houses. Council may choose not to regulate outhouses at all. And if you choose to keep things status quo because maybe you feel it's not an issue in our community, we don't have to include it in this bylaw at all. But we would recommend that if you are considering it, that we would then consider placing it in this bylaw. It would then be enforced by our bylaw officer when we receive a complaint only. And that, because that's typically how we would handle a situation like this. And then we would enforce what's being included in that bylaw. Right now, we're asking you to read the bylaw tonight first and second only. So if council gives us direction to consider including the outhouses, then we'll do that and make sure that we provide you that wording in advance of you considering final reading of the bylaw. Thank you.
If I may just, on that, because that's like a particular, like that's more of a citizen issue brought forward, right? So that's why it's being presented tonight, just in case. And because that's kind of separate from most of what you've prepared, which is administratively prepared based on recommendations. So does council have any thoughts on, well, I guess I could ask one question first. How many, because you're our longest tenured employee, how often have these complaints come for outhouses?
So thank you, Mr. Mayor. To my knowledge, both from just receiving phone calls myself and looking through our complaints over the years, I have never received any complaints until very recently from one individual. And we were made aware of a second outhouse on a rural road very recently. And yeah, so it hasn't been a common issue at all.
So I suppose you kind of asked a question there. Does council wish to regulate outhouses? We can have a conversation in a second and third reading, but if we can make that decision now, we save administration some time. So Deputy Mayor Lang.
No. I think we've only had one complaint, basically, and, it's unfortunate that I think the neighbor could have been a little more courteous of where they put it, but not interested in making a whole new rule for one complaint.
Are there any other thoughts to match that? Councillor McNally just kind of agreeing with Martin, or Deputy Mayor Lang? Okay. Councillor Jaworski?
I'm similar to Deputy Mayor Lang. I don't want to have a whole new rule just because of one complaint. But I was wondering is if there's like a simple solution where, I mean, that adding outhouse, comma outhouse in some list of items that can't be right up against a property line or something like that. If there's like some way of having, dealing with it sort of that way as opposed to having a rule specifically for outhouses.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I do think the best way to enforce outhouses, if this is something council would want, would be through the property standards bylaw. It would have to be driven by a written complaint received. And I would recommend that we add a section to the bylaw that would say they must be located in the rear yard. They must meet applicable zoning standards or setbacks for that particular zone. So for example, if you have a shed on a rural property, you only need to meet a 1.2 meter side yard or rear yard setback. So the outhouse could be that close. Anything closer would then be closer than what we would allow, a shed or a gazebo or any other outbuilding type thing. You could also maybe want to control how they're constructed if you wanted to, or you can also control that maybe they're only permitted during the time of new construction or renovations. Like these are things that you could direct us. It wouldn't take us long to write a section of that bylaw and enforce accordingly. And again, I know our council's been very clear over the years about making sure that we are responding to complaint-driven complaints. And so that would be something that we would make sure that we would receive a written complaint for, and then you would do your visit accordingly.
All right, I guess then, I think just from two members of council, and if I'm a third, like I also kind of think you can't govern people's behavior, and this is one issue in 22 years, and we try not to make rules for the exception. We try and make it to prevent. So I'll mention we will not carry on with that particular part of it, and you can continue, Mr. Marion, with your presentation.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last thing we want is outside the property standards bylaw. This is just something for council's information. It's something we may look into starting, and other townships and other municipalities across Ontario have done this, and it's an administrative monetary penalty system. So what that is that AMPS is an emerging municipal approach to dealing with bylaw infractions that is efficient and effective. It is a compliance tool that is being adopted by numerous Ontario municipalities. AMPS are an alternative to the method of issuing provincial offense notices such as Part 1s or Part 2s. The AMPS system of enforcement transfers bylaw disputes from the Ontario Court of Justice to the township using screening and hearing officers who can modify, cancel, or affirm penalties. In the coming months, the township will be preparing a memo which outlines the regulations and legalities of creating an AMPS bylaw and how it can be used within various of our departments.
So with this particular item, are you looking for our approval, or are you just going to come back in the future with a report kind of highlighting and the costs and benefits?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Internally, amongst different departments, we've been talking about how this tool could benefit a few departments. I know it's something that's been spoken about in the fire department. We could be using it in bylaw. If and when we were to have any parking requirements, that would help infrastructure services. So really, we don't want to be going to court all the time and issuing Part 3 summons or tickets or things like that. And it's something that could be handled in-house, as Pat has indicated. And we're starting to see a lot of efficiencies from the other municipalities. At this time, we're introducing it because we might not be there yet in South Glengarry. And there might be different bylaws that council wants to put in place in the future. And good opportunity for you to consider this because it is a savings both to the municipality, could be a savings to the proponent or the person, I don't know what to call that person, the infractor.
The person would be receiving a penalty.
Yes, and again, it's something that can be done in-house and can really controlled by bylaw that council approves. So I'm sure we'll be having further discussions with our fire chief and other managers to see if it's something that we want to move forward with.
And are you looking for discussion on that, or we're kind of waiting perhaps for a future report across departments? Okay.
Correct.
Is there a subsequent slide, or is this?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, that's the end of the presentation.
Okay, could you just bring the slide back to, you had a nice summary of what was and what will be. I think it was 2013 to 2024, and then I'll look around the table to see if there are any questions or comments about it. Or perhaps there's no questions of the particular presentation. And it is a first and second reading, so we do have time to make comments, and it will come back to us. So I'm seeing then no comments presently. We'll wait for the third one and get questions in. So please do reach out to administration if you have anything. But here's the 2013 highlights in the proposed bylaw. Ms. Haley, did you have your hand up, or is okay? Ms. Haley?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to receive a little bit of further direction from council then. Because this is first and second reading only, we do want to afford you some time to review the bylaw. This is a bylaw we've had in place for a long time, but obviously there's some changes, and we've gone from, I believe, like a 13-page bylaw to a 36-page bylaw or 38-page bylaw. So I'm looking to see if council would like to provide us feedback by Monday, June 24th that we can include in our July 2nd agenda, or would you like more time and get back to us by July 8th to include in the July 15th agenda? We're not in any rush to implement this bylaw, so I certainly don't want council to feel rushed, but it's something that, as I mentioned, that Mr. Mario has worked on in the wintertime, and we wanted to get it before council. And then we're working with a more up-to-date bylaw as soon as we can.
Yeah, I might recommend the second one. June 24th will be soon upon us, being next Monday. So if we can aim for that second date, I forget exactly which one you mentioned. Yeah. July 8th. Deputy Mayor Lang.
Just a question. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you. If we've gone from 13 pages to 36, is there more changes than what we're seeing here? I suspect that there might be, because I don't think that would take up, I guess, 3 times the pages. So I'm wondering if maybe we should have a copy of the old and the new. We have the new, but we don't have a copy of the old that I know of.
Councillor Jaworski, go ahead.
I think, if I may speak for Deputy Mayor Lang, I think he's asking for more like a red line version where it's very clear what's different. I mean, I'll be honest, I kind of sat with both of them today, and I did find it sort of difficult to try and. So it would be helpful if there is some sort of red line version that would really be more clearly what's being added. That would probably be helpful.
So I guess a question would be like, red line obviously like track changes, but are these like, these are 5 of the changes? Would these be, I guess, like if these are all the 5, it's nicely highlighted, but if there are many more, then
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. These are the major changes. So what's been added is not so much more additional sections of the bylaw, but more defined in the bylaw. So that would take up the difference of pages compared to the current bylaw to the new bylaw. So we have a lot more defined terms and a lot more in-depth especially when it comes to interior and exterior property. So it's not as vague as the current bylaw. So when we go ahead and do an inspection, it's right there, and it's easier for the residents to read as well it is for us to enforce that bylaw. So it's not so much as major changes like adding 20 more pages of just a lot more different things. It's just that these would be the 5 major things of the bylaw. It's just that everything else is more defined.
And do you think it would be possible to kind of retroactively go and show those changes, or maybe put some work into it? Because it does make it easier for council whenever things are highlighted red.
I believe Mr. Mario is getting at most of this is definition page, right? Or like when you open the bylaw, there's the pages of definitions. I'm assuming we've more defined more things than.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, that's correct, Councillor McDonnell. It's basically the current bylaw that we have for 2013 only has maybe a page of definitions, where I think the new proposed bylaw is about 5 or 6 pages of defined terms. So you'll see that those are the major additions for pages from the old current bylaw.
And it's a question I do ask with the proposed bylaw. If we are doing more, do you anticipate seeing us, because it is an increased level of service, is that something you could handle as an individual, or do you think there would be future staffing requirements to get to the proposed bylaw?
Thank you for the question, Mr. Mayor. I don't see this as an increased level of service. I see this as providing clarity. So for example, we'll often hear from landlords and tenants, and sometimes there are disputes between tenants and landlords. And with the more clear language in the proposed bylaw, it's going to help on the enforcement side. Over recent years, I've received comments from landlords and tenants that it would be best if our bylaw was written more clearly to understand things. Like you mentioned, the heating to be at 20 degrees versus 21 degrees. This may be a surprise to members of public or council, but it's not uncommon for us to get very specific complaints from occupants of dwellings that will note those specific examples of concerns, and mold, air quality, all of those things. So again, I don't see it as an increased level of service, because the bylaw officer is performing those duties and reviews and inspections on site currently, regardless if we have less definitions in the bylaw or not. I think it's going to be more helpful for the public in the long run. To answer your question on track changes, we didn't do a track changes. But what we could do is we could do a summary, of the difference of each section and mail that out to council. And we did include the current bylaw in the staff report as a link. So I apologize if that was not clear. That's just maybe taking advantage of us having an electronic agenda as opposed to attaching the bylaw. But we can do that. And we have some really, really knowledgeable and efficient summer students in our office that might be a task tomorrow morning to one of our students to help with a summary, and we'll get that to council by email if that's okay with you.
Yeah, no, that sounds great, because it's easier to sometimes see it compared to reading.
Yes,
It's always,
I
if there's
do
any chance that we
understand
can do it, we can do that. Maybe there's artificial intelligence that can summarize the differences. I don't know.
I'm sorry we didn't provide that initially.
No, that's fine. That's glad to have it reviewed. Obviously, every 11 years is good timing, and I can see other municipalities, 2 of them are taking the same tact. So all those in favor of the motion as read? Carried. And thank you. So now we're going to item 8B, appointment of acting clerk, moved by Deputy Mayor Lang, seconded by Councillor Jaworski. Be it resolved that Staff Report 2024-73 be received and that Bylaw 2024-41, being a bylaw to appoint Kimberly Castleman as acting clerk for the Township of South Glengarry, be read a first, second, and third time passed, signed, and sealed in open council this 17th day of June. I believe this is Mr. Robertson.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Mayor. This report is procedural in nature. It is a bylaw to appoint an acting clerk. As council is aware, our current clerk, Ms. Campo, she's out of the office on a leave, and as such, we've reviewed how our clerk's department has been tasked over the last number of months, and we felt due to a few staff being out of the office, we thought it best that we evaluate that situation, and as such, we thought best that we could bring in some assistance. We reached out to the counties, and counties have graciously reviewed their capacity, and they have allowed SDNG Council, SDNG Counties clerk, Kimberly Castleman, to assist us for the next little while. As such, Kimberly is here with us tonight. She's assisting tonight. So I guess, so that's what the report is. If I may, also, I would like to also thank our deputy clerk, Casey Dixon, has done a fabulous job over the last few months, wearing many, many hats and keeping our clerk's department operating very, very well. And I'd like to acknowledge that effort. So thank you, Casey.
Thank you very much. Would you like to say anything about joining the greatest township in the world?
Well, through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm glad to be here, happy to help, excited to work with Casey and the team here at South Glengarry. Thanks for having me.
And thank you for both. It is, as we talked about kind of casually, went from a department of 4 to a department of 1 pretty quick, and you held it together quite well. So thank you for that, and also thank you for coming on board. All those, is there any further comments? No. All those in favor of the motion as read? Carried. Okay, items for consideration. Junior B Glengarry Brigade update. Sherry Lynn, or Ms. Harbers.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, this is just a quick update. I've been working with, or administration has been working with North Glengarry as well as we go through this change with Junior B, them merging together with South Glengarry and North Glengarry's Junior B teams. So we were both going to be coming forward just with a quick report to council, just to let them know the operational changes that we've been working on. And this provides a quick update as to what we are predicting for hours, which we spoke about earlier this evening. And then also just obviously with a new team comes a new logo, which changes a lot of, the logos and the layout in the arena as well. So just how we've been navigating that, and just to give you a quick update on what what you'll see in the new year whenever we put the ice in, as well as with the logos that we've kind of rearranged so that everyone, still is included at center ice. So that's pretty much what this is about, unless council has any questions. But as of right now, this is the information we have. So,
Any questions or comments on that? No. Councillor Jaworski.
Thank you, through you, Mayor McDonald. Thank you, Ms. Harbers, for this report. It was very glad to have this information and timely, and happy to see how you're addressing the logos question, because that's always something that comes up as well. What's going to happen now with the logos? So nice to see that mock-up. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you for that information update. I would also like to mention, because in case I forget later, this is our last in-person council meeting. The next 3 meetings are July and August, and they'll all be virtual. So just, I'll mention that at the end, but in case I forget, we'll go into the consent item. I believe the items pulled were 10A, B, D, and K. I think A and B were pulled from Deputy Mayor Lang or Councillor Jaworski, possibly both. All right, Councillor Jaworski.
Thank you, through Mayor McDonald. Yeah, I wanted to pull the info report regarding the large item pickup. First of all, thank you to staff for putting this together, because it's really interesting to see the details and the feedback. Like, this is helpful. When we talked at strategic planning, one item that was discussed potentially to have on the list is, solid waste management plan. And this information, I think, is really useful to sort of inform what are the impacts of our choices. And certainly when it comes to large item pickup, we know definitely it is something that our residents value. And when we have a pilot going for on-demand pickup, and it seems every time there's postings about that on-demand pickup, a resident will chime in about, well, what does this mean about the large item pickup that happens every year? They're very concerned about losing that. But I think it's important to highlight the amount that is picked up during the large item pickup. I think when I was speaking with our GM infrastructure today, I think we were sort of back of the envelope calculation was that, large item pickup will, if we continue to do it, it's going to cost us like 10% in terms of the landfill life. So if we have approximately, if we have 10 years left, continuing with large item pickup, it's going to shave 1 year off just because of the large items that don't break down, et cetera. So I think, it's important to understand the impact of that. And I suppose, if it's something that as council moves forward, if we continue to have that service, maybe we need to think more, or maybe actually we have to pay more to have more diversion as part of this activity to ensure that there's less is picked up that could be potentially diverted. So just food for thought.
Deputy Mayor Lang.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. I agree with Councillor Jaworski that we need to give this some thought, that I think maybe a lot of residents don't realize that when we do large item pickup, we are not sorting anything. Everything's just being dumped, whether it could be, something that could be sent some other stream like mattresses or something like this. Like, we're just dumping everything. Metal hopefully is all coming out because the scrap guys do go around and I think do a reasonably good job of picking up what can be recycled that way. But everything else is just being dumped in the landfill. So it is something that we're a little concerned about. But I want to talk about something a little bit different, because we are doing it at the moment, and I think I think our contractor didn't do a very good job this year. I think they did a terrible job this year. I know for a fact that stuff was out on time. There were very few that was going to be late because it was a short week, so everything was delayed a day. And there was a lot of stuff that wasn't picked up that was eligible to be picked up. And residents were extremely frustrated. I know staff got a lot of calls. We got a lot of calls. I had people that I know well enough, and I know that they were not lying to me, that they had it out on time, and I know what their items were, bringing, at the point that they were going to bring it and put it on my lawn, because they were so annoyed and frustrated that they had done everything right and it was not being picked up. And I think it is up to us to hold the people that work for us to account, like, we're paying $17,612 to have this service performed, and they did not perform it very well this year. I know they had some breakdowns, but that's not our problem. That's their problem. They need to work around that. And I think we need to hold them a little bit more to account, and maybe, sometimes it's hard to do that, but, maybe they only performed $10,000 worth of work this year. I'm not sure. But there's nothing gets our residents more upset than not picking up the garbage, especially when they think they've done what they were required to do and got it out there. So I was very frustrated about it. I went and actually picked up some stuff for a couple of residents just to make them feel a little better that somebody actually cared. And I'm pretty sure likely other people did too, and I'm quite sure I've seen a township truck out doing a little bit of that sort of stuff. So that was appreciated, but I'm not blaming anybody of our staff. It just was very frustrating, and I just want to voice that. I think the public wanted to know that we have heard them, and that we know that they were frustrated.
Yeah, if I could sum up rural, my rural experience to still some of Stephanie's things and put words to it: gravel, garbage, and wayward water, like a rural municipal story. So like the garbage is one of them. Councillor McDonnell and then Councillor Bougie.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just wanted to, I won't go right into it as well, but same thing as the deputy mayor. It was disappointing to see the level of service that we did get for the amount of money we spend. And just, I guess, a comment and overall as far as, I know we look at it on a dollars as to what it costs us to perform that service and as to what it looks like as far as filling up our landfills. At the same time, we do have to recognize we have, it's also a bit of a kind of an accessibility thing. Not everybody's got access to a vehicle they're willing to put things in to go to the dump with. Not everybody's got a trailer or a pickup truck, so this is a valued service, especially for some of our older people as well that maybe don't have somebody around that they can get somebody for a couple of days ahead of big garbage week to help them get that old mattress out of the house that's full of dust or whatever they want to get rid of it, things like that. So I do think it's a valuable service at the end of the day, and people have come to really appreciate it. So unfortunately, it didn't go as smooth as we would like to see it, but hopefully we can see that change. We can, as the deputy mayor said, hold the contractors' feet up against it.
Thank you, Councillor Bougie.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. I'm definitely a supporter of this program, and I mean, it's hard to measure the amount of metal that's taken by our local scrap dealers, I guess, that go around and pick it up. I mean, you can't get that number, but definitely anything that was metal that I put out was gone. They're driving around, so I mean, it's hard to capture that kind of number. So, but I think this program overall is very valuable. And just to echo some of the sentiments, it is unfortunate this year that some of the things didn't get picked up, and we had some frustration out there. But I mean, we also have the on-demand program as well, so that's beneficial. But I'm definitely in favor of this program moving forward. I know landfills are filling up, but if we don't have this program, I guess they can use the on-demand. I mean, it's going to go somewhere eventually. No. So yeah, I just wanted to add that point.
No, that's fair, and I guess Councillor Jaworski, you're kind of like looking at the looming multi-million-dollar closing costs and how that comes up. So 1 year earlier is 1 year earlier, but it is a valuable service. The next item, if I'm correct, if it was 10B, the RCA board meeting, Deputy Mayor Lang? No? Okay, maybe I...
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, through you. The one I wanted to pull was D.
Okay, lettered Royal Assent amps in the Building Code Act.
Let me get down to it here.
Sorry.
No,
Okay.
I know all about Roundup.
All right. Sorry, I might be looking, maybe this is opened the wrong...
So it's put out by Lake of Bays for the amps thing, and I just put it on because it was brought up in our bylaw thing today that we might be looking to go that route. And they're just saying that as far as, I think it's as far as the building department, building code, it hasn't passed Royal Assent yet or something like this. I'm just kind of reading quickly. Wondered if it's something, if Ms. Haley could speak to, if it's something that she would like to see us support. Is this something that's worthwhile? And I don't know very much about it at this point, other than it's been mentioned twice tonight now.
So is there interest in council in supporting this resolution? I think that's what Deputy Mayor Lang is saying, yes? Yep. Okay, so can we prepare a support resolution for this particular motion for the next meeting?
Sure.
Okay, and the last item is a special meeting for asset management planning. I believe that is Councillor Jaworski.
Yeah, thank you, through you, Mayor McDonald. If I understand, staff is asking if we can have a special meeting of council at some point before July 1st for reviewing and adopting the AMP report. And I mean, I'm supportive of that because I'm even more supportive if it can be a virtual special meeting.
Yeah, I think that just really is based on meeting a legislative requirement, which would be nice to do. It might be a nice, quick meeting. So I would, if everybody has, I don't know, maybe do a poll of us at some point shortly, and we can pick a. Yeah, okay, if we can look at our calendars right now, we maybe set that date.
What? Through you, Mr. Mayor, when was Ms. McDonald thinking? Or hoping for? Next week?
When would
or-
look good for you, Ms. McDonald? It's probably like a near last minute endeavor. So
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I was hoping to give council a few days to read the report before they approve it or accept it. So if later in the week, next week would be good.
24th? 24th, Monday?
sorry, Councilor, the 24th of May does not work? Nope. Of June, sorry. Yeah, sorry, we are in June. Isn't graduation the 26th? Oh, sorry, yes. So Charlotte District High School is Wednesday, the 26th. That day doesn't work.
I cannot do the 25th.
Cannot do the 25th, so we're not the 23rd, or sorry, not the 24th, not the 25th, not the 26th. So now we're looking at the 27th and 28th. That's a Thursday and a Friday.
I'm fine.
So then tentatively to 27th, does that work for Councilor McInnell? Work for Councilor Bougie? We could do it at 6 p.m. Does people have 6 p.m. on the 27th?
Even earlier if you wanted. Earlier? Could we do earlier?
The 5, yeah, I mean, is everybody available 5 on the Thursday, the 27th is what we're asking right now?
Mhm.
Does that work for, okay, so Thursday, June 27th at 5 p.m. We will have that meeting virtually. Okay, there were no other items for the consent agenda. Moved by Councilor Bougie, seconded by Deputy Mayor Lang. Be it resolved that council accepts the items listed on the consent agenda. All those in favor? Carried. So now we will be moving into the closed session portion of our meeting. Moved by Councilor Bougie, seconded by Councilor Jaworski. Be it resolved that council convene to close session at 9:18 p.m. to discuss the following items under Section 239(2) of the Municipal Act, SO 2001. 2, a meeting or part of a meeting may be closed to the public if the subject matter being considered is D, labor relations or employee negotiations, specifically employee negotiations. F, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, specifically ongoing litigation. All those in favor of the motion as read? Carried. So we will reconvene later, but for those on YouTube, thank you very much for tuning in, and in the audience as well, thank you for attending. Have a good So we are now coming out of closed session, moved by Deputy Mayor Lang, seconded by Councillor McDonnell. Be resolved that council rise and reconvene at 10:22 p.m. into open session without reporting. All those in favor? Carried. Is that currently up on the screen, just to be sure? Okay, great. Moved by Councillor McDonnell, seconded by Councillor Bougie. Be it resolved that administration be directed to carry out all actions as specified in closed session minutes. All those in favor? Carried. Confirming bylaw. Moved by Councillor Jaworski, seconded by Deputy Mayor Lang. Be it resolved that bylaw 2024-40, being a bylaw to adopt, confirm, and ratify matters dealt with by resolution, be read a first, second, and third time, passed, signed, and sealed in open council the 17th day of June 2024. All those in favor? Carried. And then adjournment. Moved by Deputy Mayor Lang, seconded by Councillor Jaworski. Be it resolved that the Council of the Township of South Glengarry adjourn to the call of the chair at 10:23 p.m. All those in favor? Carried. I'd like to thank all of council for this evening. It's been a little bit of a long one with a little break in between, and also staff for their attendance. Have a good evening.